You can do that. Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Sevier.
Present.
Councilmember Fox.
Present.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Mayor Durham.
Present.
All present, we have a quorum.
All right, with the quorum present, we'll get this meeting started. This is our regular scheduled meeting for April 12th, 2018. I'll lead us in a word of prayer, and Ronald, if you'll lead us in the pledge afterwards. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, what a beautiful day it is outside that you've given us, and Lord, thank you for our health that we have, that we could be here today to do the business of this city. Lord, I pray that the things that we do at this table would benefit the citizens of Lawrenceburg, and Lord, ultimately bring honor and glory to your name. Lord, be with those who are sick and ailing in our community. Lord, I pray that you bring them back to good health. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, gentlemen, I've been gone the last two meetings, but in front of you, you have a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting from March 22nd. If there's no additions, changes, or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. And if there's no discussion on the minutes, all in favor of approving the minutes, let them be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved. Let's see, we got some special guests here with us today. Joan is here. Joan Childers, are you here? Mm-hmm. You're from Ingram South School. You're the principal there. Did you want to address the board?
I will. I'm not the principal. How are you, Mayor Durham? Are you fine this morning?
I'm good.
Council? Class?
Good morning.
Good morning. There you go. I am Joan Childers. I worked as a classroom teacher and librarian at Etheridge for 44 years. And I retired last summer.
I think you'd done that if you looked 39 up.
Well, thank you. You deserve a raise, let me tell you. I began working at Ingram South this past fall just because they needed help with their library, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I want to thank you for the donation you made to the Ingram South Library. They so desperately needed that money, and they so desperately need valuable books. And I thought this morning to show you exactly what you've given your money for, that I would give you an example of one book that we put in our library because of you. It's named 7.5 Tons of Steel. And this book is about the Navy ship, the USS New York. As the story begins, a child is looking up into the sky at a jet airplane, and that jet airplane flies into one of the World Trade buildings. And the devastation begins. People are dying, the debris, the smoke. Very quickly, the book moves into the cleanup of Ground Zero. And in that cleanup, they find a steel beam from one of the buildings that weighed 7.5 tons. And somebody had the idea of, let's use this steel beam into something where it will never be forgotten what happened here, and it will remind us of what happened here. So somebody had the idea, let's use this beam to go into the bow of a ship and name that ship the USS New York. So they put the beam on a truck, and they trucked it across the southern U.S. to Louisiana. When it got to Louisiana to a foundry, the steel was melted, ground, put together, polished, and it was made into a bow and welded onto the rest of a huge naval ship number 21. It was the 21st of its kind, but really there was not one like it, because this one had the bow of the beam of the 9/11. So they pushed it into the Mississippi waterway after it was complete, and it went on into the Atlantic Ocean. It sailed around the tip of Florida and around the east coast to New York, and there was a huge celebration as this USS New York went past the Statue of Liberty. After that, the USS New York was given orders to do what these ships do. I'm so sorry. It was sent out into different parts of the world to do different things. But in 2011, there was a 10-year celebration in New York, and they called the USS New York back, and there was just a huge, huge celebration. and they displayed the crest of the ship, which is got a big sign that says "Never Forget." And this was just one of the terrific books that you had something to do with donating to us. Now, I need to tell you, everybody has an old-fashioned idea that libraries are just a depository of books for children to read and check out. It's not that way anymore. Our county libraries are very much tied to state standards. And these books are ordered in a surgical kind of way. What book can we order that will help the teachers with their instruction? So take this book, for example. What standards could you teach using this book? Well, you could teach a part of American history. Check. You know, you're going to be tested on different parts of American history, and it's something the children need to know. You have to remember, how many children in school today were alive when that happened, when the 9/11 happened? They don't know anything about it. So American history can be taught. U.S. geography can be taught from this book because you can trace the beam as it goes from New York across the states, the waterways, the Atlantic Ocean, the Mississippi waterway as it comes back up the East Coast. The children are learning about U.S. geography. The other standard that's real prevalent and important right now is anything to do with engineering. So this book is perfect because it's going to give you a chance to discuss the planning of how you're going to take this beam and turn it into the bow of a ship. You know, what kind of mathematical calculations had to go into that. Just all sorts of engineering things you could discuss here. And when you get a book of this quality, you always look for the enduring understanding. What is this book telling us, not only the children, but us? I think this book is telling us that there can be a very, very tragic event, but remarkable things can come from that tragic event. And what you would try to do in the classroom, of course, is draw out from the children what are the remarkable things that happened, because of 911. There have been things. And the other thing would be in your own life. What tragedies have there been in your own life that remarkable things have happened because of those tragedies? So this is just one example of 56 books that you gave us the money for, that we ordered, that we're going to use for the children to read. What little boy wouldn't want to read this? And we've already have this book assigned to the 3rd grade to meet those 3 or 4 standards I just told you about. So I just can't tell you, thank you. I mean, I am simply representing Ingersoll as a volunteer this morning, but my heart is really into this, of helping them because they need that help. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions about it?
Are they going to have that reading program again this summer?
Yes. Yes, they will have that program again this summer. Anything else? Thank y'all for inviting me. I'm glad I'll have to be excused early. I have another meeting.
That's all right. I'm sorry I was late. You could have already been out of here.
That's okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, I don't have any specific announcements or business. And Chris is not here. Do we have any department managers that we're going to report today? Can't call on you, Jay. We'll let the minutes show that the LUS financials for February 2018 are on file here at City Hall. I don't have any items of old business on the table, so I'm going to go move to new business, and Mr. Betts, I'll turn the table over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1225 is an ordinance to vacate and abandon an undeveloped section of 8th Street. Retention of utility easements, repeal conflicting ordinances, and effective date. This is 8th Street is on the Raintree subdivision map. This property is being sold to a gentleman by the name of Galen Faulkner. Shackelford's currently own it, and there's no intention to develop 8th Street, so they need it abandoned. So this is here for first reading today.
All right, gentlemen, what's your pleasure on ordinance number 1225?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, and second. Any discussion on this?
The folks in the neighborhood have any thoughts on it?
This is my backyard. I'm just tickled to death that it's being happened.
Good enough. done some appraisal work on this land one time, and I don't know that a lot of it can be developed. It's low land and real kind of swampy in places.
The buyer intends to continue to farm it.
Okay.
So years from now, they can't come back and ask us to clear a row of trees off of it because it's a dedicated street. It happens
Correct.
all the time. All right. Any other questions on orders number 1225? Seeing none, if you're in favor of orders number 1225, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And orders number 1225 moves to second reading.
Ordinance 1226, it's an ordinance to amend 1207 entitled Budget Appropriations of Revenue and Expenditures for the 17-18 fiscal year. It's to deal with the administration department. This is to include funds in the amount of $12,458.71 for insurance recovery into the budget. That is here for first reading.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion to approve.
Second.
And second, any discussion on this? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of ordinance number 1226, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And ordinance number 1226 moves to second reading.
Next, gentlemen, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to call for the election of mayor, council member seat 1, and council member seat 2 in accordance with Chapter 99 of the Private Acts of 2008, or otherwise known as the Lawrenceburg City Charter. The election to be the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, which will fall on November 6, 2018. That is for your consideration today.
All right, gentlemen, what's your pleasure on this resolution?
Motion to
Got a
approve.
motion to approve.
Second.
And a second, any discussion? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that resolution's approved.
Next, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to rescind Resolution 2008-10-4A and Resolution 2011-89B entitled City of Lawrenceburg Purchasing Policies and Procedures, and to create a new purchasing policy. And that is for your consideration.
All right, gentlemen, what's your pleasure on this resolution?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a second. Any discussion?
Yep, on page 3 there. Dollar amount of purchase, $750 to $2,000, 3 quotes. And I think you can get those 3 quotes over the telephone. I don't really like that. I think we ought to change that to written quotes also.
Change it to what?
Written quotes.
So basically, you just we would take that line out and just make it $750 to $7,999.
Yep, or either up the top line to 0 to 1,000, then put from 1,000 to 8,000, something like that. Either way.
Right. Mayor, you have more experiences on buying things than anybody else here in the city. What's your feelings about giving more authority to your city manager? I mean, so they don't have to have such a hard time when if something comes up and it's not a high ticket item, you know, $750 to $2,000. If you ought to have enough confidence in your city manager not to throw your money away than that. What do you think?
I guess it depends on what you're buying. You know, you can't hardly buy anything for less than $1,000 these days.
Right.
That you have to, you know, get approval for. I just, you know, I didn't even know till we just looked at it, they had this particular scale in here. I know some of the things that come to us are petty. I feel it's petty. You know, I don't see, you know, our city manager and our HR director can make a decision to let people go home from work early, which costs the city about $6,000 or $7,000. but we can't buy a used car for $2,000 without our approval. It's just, to me, it's a little bit backwards.
Is this something that we need to vote on right away? I think we ought to think about this a little bit, especially maybe when we get into the budget process, we'll have a little more time to think about this, and maybe get some department heads.
The thing it does, though, is that it keeps the commission in the loop more than anything. You know, if we delegate so much authority, which I don't mind doing that, but I do trust Chris and his team here. But if we delegate too much authority, we're going to be coming to this table saying, what happened? You know, how did this take place, and how did this get purchased, and stuff like that. So I can, from my perspective, some of it seems petty to me. Then I've sat through enough meetings to understand that there's a lot of questions that come up from council members and say, we didn't know we even had this at our disposal or something, you know. And so I think it probably does warrant a little bit more discussion, especially with the questions that Mr. Fox brings up this morning.
Yeah, I think that's legit.
And if it pleases the board, we can pass on this resolution until we can sit down and talk about it. I think we're supposed to have a work session coming up late next week. We're trying to get one up for late next week. If we can do that, if that pleases the board, we'll move on to the next item. Is everybody in favor of that?
Yes, sir.
Do you need
Is there
a
a
motion
motion
to
second?
table it?
There's a motion and second.
Need a motion to table then.
Motion to table.
I second it.
And second, and all in favor of tabling that, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll move to the next resolution.
Next matter on the agenda, gentlemen, is a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to enter into a lease agreement with Darrell Valentine for occupancy of a lot located at 36 Public Square to be used for parking.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to ask for the same consideration to be taken on this resolution as the previous resolution. If it pleases the board, I'd like to talk about this one more time. I have not personally seen the design for this parking lot, and in my head, I cannot see 12 parking spots there. And so I don't know what the ingress egress looks like there, and I don't want to jump off a cliff and vote yes on this and it cause worse problems on the ingress egress.
Motion to
there.
table.
Second.
Got a motion and a
Don't
second.
need to do
You
that.
don't have
If
to
there's
do that.
no
Okay.
motion or second to bring it up, if you want to just defer action on it, that'd be fine.
I will just
Okay.
defer action on that till next meeting.
Next, gentlemen, a resolution for the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to authorize the Lawrenceburg Fire Department to apply for a recruiting and retention safer grant through the Department of Homeland Security for 15 volunteers for a period of 4 years at no cost to the city. That's for your consideration today.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve and a second and another second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of this, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's approved.
Next, gentlemen, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, to declare certain property in the police department acquired through the Department of Defense as surplus to be disposed of in accordance with Lawrenceburg purchasing policy. And that's for your consideration today.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any discussion on this? All right, seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that resolution is approved.
I think that's all my business today, gentlemen.
All right. Gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to be absent the last two meetings. One of them was planned, the other one was unplanned, but it's good to be back. And
Good to have you back.
appreciate you
Yes,
guys
good-
carrying
good
me.
to have you.
So,
I like it when you
any other matters of business?
Motion to
I got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Second, this meeting's adjourned.